You know, this may come as a surprise to some, but I don't really have anything against Pokemon. You know, except for the way that for the past 25 years they've split up mainline entries into two different games with few differences for the sake of inflating sales and tricking people into buying the same game twice under the guise of collection. I don't like how, despite being the largest multimedia franchise on Earth, the trees look like this, and there's still no voice acting. I mean, come on, you know, back in the late GameCube, early Wii era, the Fire Emblem series was on the verge of collapse sales-wise, and they still tried voice acting.
Anyone? Can anyone hear me?
Sorta. I reserve the right to be critical of the Pokemon series, the Pokemon Company, and Game Freak, okay? Because we all know that every Pokemon game that releases will sell regardless of quality, and in the past few years, it feels like they've taken this fact as an opportunity to maintain the status quo instead of raising the bar. Sword and Shield come to mind, but personally I think that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl may be bigger offenders because they do very little to improve upon the originals, don't include any content from Platinum, the definitive version of the game, and also have this weird, ugly Duplo art style. To me, the purpose of a remake is to update an older game for the modern era, and I feel like Game Freak's insistence on making a block-for-block remake is kind of indicative of this series' direction as a whole. Many people, myself included, have only become more and more jaded when it comes to the Pokemon series, which is why I was so caught off guard by the announcement of Legends Arceus. Because yeah, even though the initial trailer didn't look amazing, I was shocked to see them moving in a new direction and seemingly committing to it. Between the older setting and what appeared to be an open world, I was cautiously optimistic for the game. So I picked up the game the day it released and have been enjoying it since. But I acknowledge that it's not perfect. In fact, it's far from it. Legends Arceus gets a lot of things right, but it also gets a lot of things wrong. And in this video, I'm going to break down the good, the bad, and the Pokemon. This game is fun, and that's pretty much about the baseline thing I could ask any game to be. Although, who am I kidding? With game companies trying to shoehorn in stuff like NFTs these days, which by their own admission, don't add any fun, maybe that's not what games are really for anymore. I realize that some people who play to have fun, and who currently form the majority of players, have voiced their reservations towards these new trends, and understandably so. However, and I'm not just trying to stir the pot here, I'm making a genuine point. I'm saying that it's refreshing to see a game released in 2022 where the focus seems to be fixated on making sure the players have fun. The game introduces a new semi-open world style that I've seen compared to Monster Hunter, and yeah, I mean, kinda? Just like in Monster Hunter, you have a hub world in Jubilife Village, and from this hub you can go to one of 5 main areas. The Obsidian Fieldlands, the Crimson Mirelands, the Cobalt Coastlands, the Coronet Highlands, and the Alabaster Icelands. While the division of the areas is similar to mainline Monster Hunter games, the way in which you traverse them is much more like Monster Hunter Stories 2. They also give you a map of the Hisui region, trying to illustrate that everything is connected and roughly how it's connected, which is something that Monster Hunter is notoriously bad at doing. In this game, you can catch Pokemon in the traditional way, by beating them to a pulp and then throwing a ball at them, or you can just throw the Pokeballs at them outside of battle. And I know that some people have mixed feelings about this system, but I think it helps to streamline a lot of the monotony that brings Pokemon as a series down. Making the simple act of catching a Pokemon fun goes a long way. Outside of standards like Pokeballs, Great Balls, and Ultra Balls, we have the newly reworked Heavy Balls and brand new Feather Balls. Heavy Balls don't go very far when thrown, but are very good at catching mons at close range. Feather Balls are pretty much the opposite, flying far and fast. This game has a significant stealth mechanic too. Yeah, that's right, in this game, Pokemon don't hide in the grass. You do! Pokemon respond differently when they get spotted. Some, like Bidoof, are chill and don't care if you walk up to them. Starly might be skittish and run away as soon as you see them. A Shinx might be aggressive the second it spots you. Others, like Machop, are only conditionally aggressive, not attacking until they see you throw something. Then there's Paris, which will...
We've been actually murking niggas. Knocking niggas the fuck off. Every day. Killing niggas. We killed 5 people today, and it's only 2 o'clock.
This is the first mainline Pokemon game I've seen use Pokemon behavior as a prominent mechanic that you have to think about at all times, and it's better for it. On top of the unique balls I mentioned earlier, you can also throw berries which draw in Pokemon, and depending on what kind of berry it is, it can mellow the Pokemon, dull its senses, or cause all sorts of other effects. You can also throw smoke bombs which make it harder for you to be spotted for a time. The amount of unique interactions you can have with Pokemon in this game is one of the things I feel has been missing from the series. Alpha Pokemon took it one step further, being giant versions of Pokemon that are always alert, always ready to fight, and always on guard. Even though it only happened to me once in my entire playthrough, I like the fact that Pokemon can kill the trainer in this game. It adds some level of stakes and weight to the scenarios. I think this game is a testament to how fun fighting and catching Pokemon can be. When you take a 25-year-old concept like that and repackage it, it shows how special this stuff really is. This game also provides you with unique ways to level up your mons. Any herb or item that your trainer can pick up in the world can also be picked up by throwing a Pokemon at it. Some items can only be picked up that way. While the amount of EXP it gives becomes negligible after a really short period of time, sometimes it's all you need to get over that hump to the next level. In any case, I just like the fact that the game gives you ways to level up outside of just battling. Speaking of battle, this game's battle system is definitely my favorite in the mainline series. The gimmick this time around is agile and strong moves. Once your Pokemon has mastered a move, either through Level Up or Jubilife's Move Tutor, they can use agile or strong versions of the move. Agile moves are slightly weaker but faster versions of the move, and if you play cards right, you may be able to move twice in a turn. Strong moves are the opposite, more powerful but slower versions that may end up costing you a turn. This small bit of depth does wonders for the battle system, and while it doesn't change everything, it did get me to think about things in battle that I never would have thought in another Pokemon game. And I like strategy in RPGs, even if it's an easy kids RPG like this one. It's great to be able to see the Pokemon fighting in the world, and be able to walk around them and look around and even get hit by moves. I guess a fair amount of progress has been made since the weird grass circles of X and Y. We have made no progress since the grass circles of X and Y. I am so tired of seeing people make excuses for Game Freak. Like I said earlier, Pokemon is the largest multimedia franchise in the world, okay? Game Freak isn't some small indie studio. I understand 3D modeling and animation isn't their strong suit, but it hasn't been their strong suit for years, and they've been trying this for nearly a decade at this point. I'm so tired of looking at their efforts and saying that it's a step in the right direction. I want us to finally get there. I want a leap. At a certain point, it doesn't matter what their strengths are. They have more than enough money and more than enough resources to create great looking visuals. Maybe they need to outsource. Maybe they need to hire new talent. In any case, it doesn't have to look like this. It's not written in the Bible, okay? Bad 3D models and animations aren't an inherent quality of Game Freak. They can change. And I understand that it's a Switch game, but I think I'm being completely fair, because if you compare this game to Breath of the Wild, a game that came out when the console released, it's no contest. The difference is night and day. Even third-party games like Monster Hunter Rise and Shin Megami Tensei 5 are outdoing Pokemon, and Monster Hunter in particular has so much going on screen at once. I think the best and easiest comparison I can give for this game's visuals is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Three Houses, while one of my favorite games of all time, has a serious visual issue. While the character models and accompanying art is fantastic, the world itself looks unfinished at times. Tons of flat textures and muddy colors permeate the whole game. If you ever go to a grassy map, you're pretty much guaranteed to see nothing but a nebulous mesh of dark green and brown. All of that holds true for this game too, the exception being the colors, which are a little bit brighter and more pronounced. The game's lighting engine is fine, but shadows often look weird when they actually hit objects, especially characters. At times, weird white particles surround you when you're in a cave or a lake, in what I assume is a lighting glitch of some kind. and things like flat textures are clear to see when going into Jubilife Village and realizing that the wooden planks on those houses aren't really planks at all. In terms of animations, this game is a step in the right direction, but like I said, I'm tired of steps in the right direction. This game does what I call the Persona 5 cutaway, where the devs didn't want to animate the characters doing a certain action, so they just cut to black and have a sound effect play. And it doesn't happen too much, but when it does, it's annoying and kinda distracting. In terms of move animations, they're a step up from Sword and Shield in my opinion. There's still the weird Pokemon ghost teeth animations for certain biting moves, for instance, but generally in battle, we see the Pokemon actually interact and hit each other more than ever before. That being said, a lot of moves will use similar, nearly identical animations. The open worlds, while fun to explore, have a serious issue. They're largely empty. My favorite feeling in an open world game is looking out into the distance, seeing something crazy, and thinking, wow, I want to check that out. I think I had that feeling maybe twice in this game, and each time it was a story area that I was trying to get into too early. This game is carried by the act of catching and fighting Pokemon, because outside of that, there's very little else to do. There's like 3 minigames I can think of. Even the side quests, as fun as some of them are, usually task you with finding a specific Pokemon or completing a Pokédex page. Speaking of which, completing the Pokédex in this game is a chore. I'm not sure if I'll ever complete it. Given the context of the game, I get it, okay? The setting is older, you're the first real trainer to ever do this, so there's a higher threshold of research that goes into completing a page of the Pokédex. But that doesn't mean it's fun. The tasks you have to complete range from simple mundane stuff like catching or killing a certain Pokemon to more specific things like using a certain type of move on a Pokemon, or seeing it use a specific move, or feeding a Pokemon, or even catching it while it's sleeping, or catching it while it's flying. It's nothing that's too challenging or anything, just incredibly tedious. And when you take the process I just described and multiply it by 242 times for every Pokemon in the game, you have your work cut out for you. Not only that, but the act of catching certain Pokemon alone might have you tearing your hair out. For example, Cherim is for some reason uncatchable during the day, and even at night, its catch rate is incredibly low. Some Pokemon love to run away when you try to catch them, and probably won't engage you in battle, which makes it hard for you to see them using certain moves without catching them, adding them to your team, and using them yourself. Which again, isn't too bad on its own, but when you have to do it over 200 times, it becomes a struggle. And for the completionists out there, filling out a page of the Pokédex is different than fully completing one. Magikarp, for instance, requires that you catch 25, beat 40, feed 5, evolve 10, and see it use Splash 100 times. And I can only speak for myself here, but the initial joy I felt every time I caught a Pokemon at the beginning of the game was by the end overshadowed by the stress of completing the Pokédex, a task that I still have not completed. Which is sad because the only way to face Arceus is by doing it. Also just wanted to mention as an aside that the black hair options for characters in this game are still really bad and really lacking. Not to shatter your world or anything, but the Pokemon series is about the Pokemon, and I feel like this game generally does a good job of putting focus on them. Everything I said before about Pokemon behavior directly linking into the gameplay is a huge change, but I also feel like the simple ability to throw your Mons out at almost any point in the open world is great. It's fun to see your Pokemon interact, even if you can't understand what they're saying. They all have different personalities and do different things. I still lament the fact that there aren't a ton of individual animations, but the ones that they do have are utilized well and help to characterize each Pokemon. But I don't necessarily need you to characterize Pokemon I've known and loved for years, like Toxicroak, my favorite Pokemon of all time. What about the new Pokemon? This game isn't the start of a new generation or anything. There's not a new region or anything, but with Hisui being an ancient version of Sinnoh, there are of course regional differences, new evolutions, and a couple new Pokemon. I won't get into the brand new ones because I don't want to spoil. Now, the final evolutions of the three main starters, Cyndaquil, Rowlet, and Oshawott, all have new final evolutions, and they're fine. What stung to me the most was Decidueye, because the Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye evolution line is my favorite starter evolution line in the series. And there's nothing wrong with the Ronin aesthetic they went with, I'm just really used to the woodland archer aesthetic. The other two I don't have strong opinions on. The new Samurott is pretty much just Samurott, but darker, and the new Typhlosion is just Typhlosion, but high out of its goddamn mind. The other new evolutions and Hisuian forms I generally do not like. Sneasler looks like a Sonic OC, Ursaluna's bulkiness and weirdly round shape is off-putting, and the rectangular unibrow is ugly as hell, and Avalugg is still an iceberg, so I guess it has that going for it. The only new forms I'd point to as genuine improvements over the old designs are the Hisuian Growlithe and Hisuian Zoro lines. Zoro is especially cool because it's the first Ghost Normal type, which is pretty busted, I think. Just wait until it comes to a game with multiplayer. The game uses new Pokemon for its riding mechanic. Weirder is your steed, Ursaluna digs things up and can track scents, Sneasler climbs for you, Basculegion swims, and Braviary is your glider. Personally, I was annoyed by the fact that you get Braviary last, but that might just be me. It also is weird to me that Braviary, despite being a big, strong bird, pretty much only functions as a glider. You'll pretty much never get any upwards momentum from riding this thing. And look, I obviously enjoy this game. There's a reason why I've played it regularly since it came out. I also won't spoil anything, but I think the post-game is really cool and highlights how well this game treats each individual Pokemon. I like how the game treats legendaries, making each one feel like a big event. But I'm also aware of some big issues that hurt the game and will probably negatively impact its longevity. Some of the issues, like visual glitches, can be solved in a simple patch. Others, like the Pokédex, are rooted more deeply in the game design. It remains to be seen if any of these issues will be solved in the future, but if Game Freak's track record is anything to go by, it probably won't be for a really, really, really long time. As always, the views presented in this video are my own opinion. If you want to argue with me in the comments, feel free, but just stay respectful. I know how Pokemon fans are, and my intention with this video is just to be upfront and honest about my opinions of this game. Peace.